All right, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 3. In this episode, I wanted to talk about the Lakers and how a team with LeBron, AD, and Russell Westbrook could possibly not even make the playoffs. This team had a lot of hype around them at the beginning of the season, especially since the Lakers won the championship 2 years ago, and people thought that they could run it back. I'm sure that a lot of you guys are as shocked as I am. So I wanted to take a look at 3 possible ways that the team could have melted down like the way it did. So I'm going to use advanced statistics to look at the individual players and see if it's their fault, the management, and see how bad some of their decisions or good some of their decisions they made this past offseason were. And 3, if the coaching has something to do with it. All right, let's get into it.
Push me to the side. At least we fell in love with something greater than debate and suicide.
So before we get started, I want to break down kind of the overall output of the 3 Lakers teams from 2020 to this year. And as you can see, there's a real decline in the overall win shares and value over replacement player of their key players, the core of their teams. So basically this suggests that, the Lakers did not deserve to make the playoffs this year. And it makes sense they didn't. And so now let's go break down where the responsibility lies. So this chart plays off the last chart that I just showed you, but breaks down the individual contributions of each player. Any box highlighted in yellow means that player played for the Lakers that year, and any box highlighted in white means that they played for a different team or were injured or something like that. In the 2020 championship season, you can see that LeBron and AD were both really, really good, way above average, and everybody else was okay, but those two were good enough to bring them to the finals and win it. In 2021, AD's numbers waned, and he was injured for part of the season, and everybody else was still pretty mediocre. Montrezl Harrell and Danny Green were pretty good, but that's about it. And then this past year, everybody except AD and LeBron was below average. AD was injured for a lot of the season again, and his numbers waned even further. LeBron's stellar play was not enough to take them to the final or take them to the playoffs, and this team just did not deserve to make it. So now let's look at changes made in the Lakers roster through the last few years and see if and where management screwed up. I think the obvious big mistake was paying Russell Westbrook $45 million. He was pretty much only average the last couple of years before this year. But I don't know if they could have predicted he would have had this bad of a year in 2022. I think management should have kept Montrezl Harrell and Danny Green. They both played pretty well for the Lakers in 2021. But on the other side of things, the Malik Monk and Carmelo Anthony signings paid off for them. And once again, I don't know if they could have predicted that Russell Westbrook would have played so poorly this year. Finally, let's see if the coaching plays a significant part in the Lakers' decline through the last few years. To do this, I'm going to go back to the same chart and compare the output of players that have played for the Lakers and other teams in recent memory. And so looking at guys like Kyle Kuzma, Alex Caruso, Danny Green, KCP, they actually all declined slightly when they left the Lakers, which suggests that they thrived in the Lakers system. Carmelo Anthony, Malik Monk, they got better when they joined the Lakers. Yeah, Westbrook got worse, but, that could be because of his own personal play and lack of motivation or athleticism or things like that. So I don't know how much of the onus can go on the coaching for this past season. I think being able to take a team to the finals and win it, is enough to say that Frank Vogel and co were at least solid, and so to wrap it all up, I think most of the responsibility goes on the shoulders of AD and Russell Westbrook, honestly. Russell Westbrook really dropped off this year, and then AD, he's slowly been declining since 2020. He just hasn't stayed healthy. When he is playing, he's less explosive, less dominant, and, LeBron just can't do it himself. The role players have been solid, but, you need at least another star. You need 2 or 3 stars. You need some help. And, AD and Russell Westbrook, they really disappointed this year. So that's all. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for the next episode. Peace.